गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन। एज यू कैन सी आज हम क्लास शुरू कर रहे हैं मिड ब्रेन की। स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम द cranial end to the caudal end of the neural tube in the brain area, it is divided into the following three parts. The cranial most is forebrain, then the midbrain and then the hindbrain. अगर फंक्शनली देखा जाए तो देन हाइंड ब्रेन इज योर सर्वाइवल ब्रेन, जहां आपका हार्ट का कंट्रोल, ब्रीदिंग का कंट्रोल, ऑटोनॉमिक सिस्टम्स का कंट्रोल, ये सब रहता है. Forebrain is the part which is about thinking, planning, action, and execution. It is the emotional and the memorizing brain. Midbrain is the junction, जहां पर दो चीजें आपको मिलेगी. कुछ न्यूक्लियाई कंट्रोलिंग योर गेज एंड हियरिंग एंड स्टफ लाइक दैट, और साथ ही में मिलेंगे बहुत सारे फाइबर्स जो इन दो पार्ट्स को और स्पाइनल एरिया को आपस में कनेक्ट कर रहे हैं.
If I open it apart, it is obviously connected via a white fiber connection. At this stage, I would just call it a connection, which is called as corpus callosum, which is nothing but axons and dendrites traversing from one side of the hemisphere to the other side. ठीक है? यदि उसे sever किया जाए, ठीक है, उसे dissect किया जाए, we are left with a hemisection of the brain. विच यू कैन सी हियर. ठीक है, तो ये सारा का सारा ग्रे मैटर है जो कि इंडिविजुअल हेमिस्फेयर्स का था. दिस इज द कनेक्शन. ठीक है, दिस वाज द कॉर्पस कैलोसम. समझ रहे हैं आप मेरी बात? ये क्या है? ये है सेप्टम पेलुसिडम, क्योंकि दोनों साइड पे लेटरल वेंट्रिकल है. ठीक है, सो आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू डिस्टर्ब दिस, बट देयर इज अ कैविटी बियॉन्ड दिस. ठीक है, उसके बाद नीचे आते हुए दिस यू कैन आइडेंटिफाई, ये सेरेबेलम है, और बीच में कुछ ये सारा का सारा मैटर है जिसे हमें इवेंचुअली समझना है. दिस वाज द थर्ड वेंट्रिकल. व्हेन वी कट थ्रू द कॉर्पस कैलोसम, उसके नीचे वी ऑल्सो हैड टू कट थ्रू दिस कैविटी. ठीक है, इट इज़ अ सिंगल अनपेयर्ड कैविटी. हमने इसको भी कट किया और फिर नीचे आए. Just look at it very closely. I hope you remember the name of all these vessels. This is cerebellum. You can identify that this is the fourth ventricle. ठीक है बच्चे? This is superior medullary velum. ठीक है, जो superior cerebral peduncle भी है, और it is going to extend into the midbrain. If I just turn it, you can see that the section has included, wait a second, let's turn it around. It has included the middle cerebellar peduncle, which means this is the level of pons. ठीक है, pons के level पर this section has been made. If I explore, or try to at least explore above the pons, what do I see? Okay, so this is the cut section through the pons, this almond-like appearance of middle cerebral peduncle, and now I reach the topmost part of my brain stem. ठीक है, this topmost part of my brain stem, as you can see, is the midbrain. ठीक है, this is the third ventricle. This is the interventricular connection. Lateral to it would be the individual thalami of both the sides. ठीक है, नीचे की तरफ extend करते हुए would be our extension towards the pituitary. So this section, only this section above the pons, ठीक है, this would be the midbrain. What are the identifying features of the midbrain? If I remove this, can you see these two small elevations? What happens when I reflect the cerebellum? If I do that, I can see that these are two rounded protuberances, and if the whole brain is considered together, one can see that it's 4 of them, 2 on each side. Okay, let me just hold it for you. So now you can see it is 4 of them. These are corpora quadrigemina. So whenever you see corpora quadrigemina, you are in the midbrain region, and it is pretty clear from here. Corpora quadrigemina, midbrain region. So what happens when we take a section of CNS? So let's just say remove the rest of the cerebral areas from the brainstem. So a section would look like this. अगर आपको कोई भी डिफिकल्टी हो, यू कैन जस्ट कॉल मी, ओके? कॉल कीजिए, व्हाट्सएप कीजिए, वट एवर इट्स देयर. So this is the cerebellum which has been taught to you earlier. This is the lateral view of the cerebellum. You can see this is the middle cerebellar peduncle coming forward and embracing the pons. ठीक है, नीचे की ओर ये medulla oblongata है और पीछे की ओर मुड़े we are again able to locate those 4 elevations. So this is corpora quadrigemina. ठीक है, superior and inferior colliculi together they are corpora quadrigemina. Quadri means 4. So this is the section at the level of midbrain.
So now that you have seen this, you can identify ये है corpora quadrigemina, 2 superior colliculi और 2 inferior colliculi. इसकी इस एक्सटेंशन को ब्रेकियम कहा जाता है. ब्रेकियम very much like the arm. ये जो पार्ट आपको दिख रहा है पल्विनार, दिस इज अ पार्ट ऑफ थैलेमस. दिस अगेन इज द पोस्टीरियर व्यू ऑफ द सेम. सो दिस इज द सेंट्रल रीजन मिड ब्रेन, जिसकी बात मैं वीडियो में कर रही थी. इट ट्रवर्सेस द हाइटस इन द टेंटोरियम सेरेबेलाई. टेंटोरियम सेरेबेलाई की अटैचमेंट आपने देखी थी किस तरह से एपेक्स ऑफ द पेट्रस पार्ट ऑफ टेम्पोरल बोन पे थी. उसके थ्रू ट्रेवर्स करता, उसके थ्रू से गुजरता हुआ पार्ट है ये मिड ब्रेन. सो इट इज गोइंग टू कनेक्ट द रेस्ट ऑफ द ब्रेन स्टेम विच इज pons, cerebellum and medulla oblongata to the rest of the forebrain. So it is the shortest segment and lies in the posterior cranial fossa, and it consists of this anterior, or let's say the rostral part, which is crus cerebri, and posterior part of corpora quadrigemina. Relations.
While studying the relations of the midbrain, just remember that this is the anterior side. You can see, right? Frontal lobe, temporal lobe, this is the occipital lobe. So while looking at it from the inferior end, we would know that this is the anterior side and this is the posterior side. So the anterior relations of midbrain, obviously this section has been made at the level of pons. इसके just ऊपर midbrain है और इस लेवल पे सेक्शन लिया गया है. तो ये जो रीजन आपको दिख रहा है, ठीक है, ये ब्रेन स्टेम है. मिड ब्रेन ब्रेन स्टेम का ही पार्ट है. इसके आगे जो ये रीजन आपको दिखाई दे रहा है, दिस इज द इंटरपेडंकुलर रीजन. इंटरपेडंकुलर क्यों? 2 पेडंकल्स के बीच में. कौन से पेडंकल्स? सेरिब्रल पेडंकल्स. ओके. और ये एंटीरियरली जब हम आगे इस वेसल को अगर मैं थोड़ा सा हटाऊं, यू कैन सी मैं मिड ब्रेन के बिल्कुल आगे हूँ. ठीक है. सो व्हाट डू वी सी हियर? ये आपको दिख रहा है ऑप्टिक ट्रैक्ट. Let me reflect this away. Optic tract and optic chiasma. You can identify this. ये है कट सेक्शन ऑफ बेसिलर आर्टरी. वॉच इट केयरफुली. ठीक है, बेसिलर आर्टरी. बेसिलर आर्टरी से आती हुई पोस्टीरियर सेरेब्रल आर्टरी और सुपीरियर सेरिबेलर आर्टरी. ये सेरिबेलर आर्टरी है जो यहाँ ब्रेन स्टेम के आगे से घूम के पीछे सेरिबेलम की तरफ जाएगी, और ये पोस्टीरियर सेरिब्रल आर्टरी है. ठीक है. थोड़ा सा अगर मैं इसे रिफ्लेक्ट करूँ, you can see it winding backwards along the cerebrum. To look at it without disturbing much structures, we can see that the oculomotor nerve is emerging from above the pons. ठीक है. If I remove some of these vessels, you can see these 2 rounded mammillary bodies. ठीक है, these are the mammillary bodies. So caudal to the mammillary bodies and cranial to the pons, this is the oculomotor nerve exiting. The posterior side, you can see this is splenium. ठीक है. If you look at it like this, this is the corpus callosum. It is further divided into the following parts. If this central part is the body, in the front there is the genu, and the posterior part is called as the splenium. As you can see, it ends just above the colliculi. Okay, this is where it ends. And here you can see it. The other thing that we should be able to see is the pineal gland. Can you see that structure deep below? I have retracted the midbrain a bit, and that pointy structure, my dear, is pineal gland. वो जो आपको दिख रहा है वो pineal gland है corpora quadrigemina के ऊपर और splenium के नीचे. ठीक है. It is a deeper structure.
So I think all these relations on the anterior side, posterior side, and just lateral to it and more lateral to it will make more sense to you. इंटरपेडंकुलर फॉसा के बारे में अब आप जानते हैं. दिस इज पर्टिकुलरली इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज ऑफ दीज वेसल्स इन दिस एरिया. बेसिलर आर्टरी की दो ब्रांचेस जो कि पोस्टीरियर सेरेब्रल आर्टरी और सुपीरियर सेरिबेलर आर्टरी हैं, इस जोन में ये दोनों ही इन्फाक्शन और थ्रोम्बोएम्बोलिक सिंड्रोम के लिए दे आर वेरी वेरी predisposed because of these kinks in the route. Okay. Corpus callosum के बारे में भी आप जानते हैं. This is what I wanted to show you. So wherever there are acute angles, the kinks are present, the vessels are always predisposed to thromboembolic events which lead to stroke. So divisions, this is the most important part. तो cerebral aqueduct जब आपने देखा, अगर उससे एक हॉरिजॉन्टल प्लेन हॉरिजॉन्टल लाइन अगर पास की जाए, सो दिस इज द डॉर्सल पार्ट एंड दिस वन इज द रोस्टर ऑफ द वेंट्रल पार्ट. इट इज डिवाइडेड इनटू टेक्टम एंड tegmentum. So the part containing the colliculi is the tectum of the midbrain and all the anterior part is the tegmentum of the midbrain. Dorsal part is the tectum. It is going to contain the corpora cordigemina. And the cerebral peduncles lie rostrally, and this is further divided into two parts. The most ventral part is the crus cerebri. ये जो आपको दिखाई दे रहा है ये crus cerebri है, and dorsal to it is the actual tegmentum part. So ये पूरा part मिलके बनाता है cerebral peduncle. So two divisions, tectum and cerebral peduncle. Cerebral peduncle is further divided into tegmentum and the crus cerebri. So on anterior surface, as you have seen in the videos before, this area is going to present with the two crus cerebri and oculomotor nerve emerging from it and the interpeduncular fossa. And on the posterior side, you can see the corpora cordigemina, which constitute the superior and inferior colliculi, and along with that, fourth nerve emerge karte hui. This is very important to know. The fourth cranial nerve, which is the trochlear nerve, is the only nerve जो कि इस पूरी की पूरी न्यूरल ट्यूब या लेट से सीएनएस स्ट्रक्चर के डॉर्सल एस्पेक्ट से इमर्ज करती है. बाकी सारी की सारी नर्व्स वेंट्रल एस्पेक्ट से इमर्ज करती हैं. In these pictures, you can see the specimens. So, आपको ये दिख रहा है substantia nigra, crus cerebri, entire zone of tegmentum, cerebral aqueduct, and the tectum. यहाँ आप देख सकते हैं the superior colliculi and the inferior colliculi. इनकी इस extension को कहा जाता है brachium, which ends in geniculate bodies. So, lateral and medial geniculate bodies are a part of diencephalon. और उसके साथ ये दो पार्ट्स कनेक्टेड हैं विद द ब्रेकियम. व्हाट यू नीड टू नो इज दिस, द सुपीरियर कॉलिकुलस से निकलता हुआ ब्रेकियम टेक्स इट टू द लेटरल जेनिकुलेट बॉडी व्हिच इज सपोज्ड टू बी हियर, एंड inferior colliculus via the brachium is connected to the medial geniculate body. We will see a picture again. So here you can see inferior colliculus, brachium extending to the medial geniculate body, and superior colliculus via brachium attending to the lateral geniculate body. Again, the same picture showing you the features. Now we talk about the cerebral peduncles. So you can see above the pons, यहाँ आपको ये दो cerebral peduncles दिखाई दे रहे हैं. ये दोनों तरफ पे आपको ऑप्टिक ट्रैक्ट के फाइबर्स दिखाई दे रहे हैं जो कायस्मा के बाद निकल के आए हैं. ये दो मैमिलियरी बॉडीज हैं. दिस इज द इन्फंडिबुलम जो पिट्यूटरी से कनेक्ट करता है, ठीक है. एंड दीज आर द क्रेनियल नर्व्स. यहाँ से इमर्ज करती हुई ये ऑक्यूलोमोटर नर्व और ये ट्रोक्लियर नर्व जो कि इमर्ज तो डॉर्सल एस्पेक्ट से कर चुकी है लेकिन घूमकर अब इस एस्पेक्ट पे इमर्ज करेगी. थ्रू द पॉन्स आपको निकलती हुई ये दिखाई दे रही है द ट्राइजेमिनल नर्व. And from the pontomedullary junction, ये pons है, ये medulla है, and from the pontomedullary junctions, your cranial nerve number 6, 7 and 8 will emerge. So as you can see, they are the two cylindrical masses situated at the base of the brain, largely hidden by temporal lobe. You have to retract the temporal lobes to be able to see them. They are going to emerge from the upper surface of the pons and diverge as they pass upwards to disappear into the substance of the cerebral hemispheres. They are surrounded by the parahippocampal gyrus and optic tracts on both the sides. Parahippocampal gyrus, आपने इस चीज के बारे में बार बार सुना है. Gyrus tells you about the gray matter of the brain. Parahippocampal gyrus is a part of temporal lobe on its inferior surface, जिसके बारे में आपको cerebrum की क्लास में पढ़ाया जाएगा. I would like to tell you about this one. This is olfactory bulb, जहां आपके olfactory nerve के fibers end करेंगे, and this is the olfactory tract. जैसे कि आप जानते होंगे कि olfactory tract is the only system So, before we move ahead, I want to tell you, ये है cranial nerve number 1. This is the olfactory bulb, this is the olfactory tract, and it ends directly into the related part of the cerebral lobes. Before we move ahead, let's see this section of the midbrain. जैसे कि आप अब देख सकते हैं, ये सेक्शन मिड ब्रेन के लेवल पे लिया गया, यानी कि सुपीरियर और इंफीरियर कॉलिक्युलस के बीच के लेवल पे, क्योंकि आप यहाँ पे इंफीरियर कॉलिक्युलस एटलीस्ट देख पा रहे हैं. दिस इज सब्सटेंशिया नाइग्रा, दिस इज द रेड न्यूक्लियस, दिस इज द सेरेब्रल एक्विडक्ट, और इसके आसपास ये एरिया शेडेड दिखाई दे रहा है. दिस इज पेरी एक्विडक्टल ग्रे. Mainly, the three common areas that give rise to cerebral peduncles are the cerebral cortex, the spinal cord, and cerebellum. So, cerebral peduncle is a collection of all the axons and dendrites communicating or coming through from this entire gray matter. And cerebral peduncle are going to include crus cerebri, substantia nigra, and tegmentum. इसमें से अब सिर्फ क्रस सेरेब्री पोर्शन के बारे में बात करेंगे. दिस इज द पोर्शन ऑफ द सेरेब्रल पेडंकल विच कंटेन्स द मोटर ट्रैक्ट्स. ओके, सो इट ओनली कंटेन्स nerve fibers. There are no nuclei in this region. The fibers can be, first of all, very very important, corticospinal fibers. Corticospinal tract जिसके बारे में आप पढ़ रहे हैं वो फाइनली यहाँ इमर्ज करता है. उसके अलावा कॉर्टिकोपोंटोसेरेबेलर फाइबर्स, कनेक्शंस वही हैं जो इनके नाम में आपको दिख रहे हैं, और कॉर्टिको न्यूरल फाइबर्स, इनके बारे में हम आगे पढ़ेंगे. So first of all, let's see the tracts, the white matter of your midbrain area one by one. First tract obviously is the most important one, the corticospinal tract. आपको इसके बारे में बता दिया गया है. We will just touch upon the pointers so that before we come to the most important part of this chapter, which is the diagrams of the sections, you are acquainted with the three-dimensional imagination of what you are supposed to draw. मैं ये कहने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ कि इस चीज को इमेजिन कीजिए अपनी बॉडी में, और इसका थ्री-डायमेंशनल स्ट्रक्चर याद करने की कोशिश कीजिए. जब भी आपको कोई ट्रैक्ट समझाना है, पढ़ना है, लिखना है, ड्रॉ करना है, दिस इज द मेमोरी दैट यू डेफिनेटली नीड टू हैव, एंड इट इज very mathematical. So let's just focus. At the level of brain, it is obviously in this white matter which is going to form something called as the internal capsule. उससे ये ट्रैवल किया, इंटरनल कैप्सूल के लेवल पे आपको ये दिख रहा है. मिड ब्रेन के लेवल पे आया, ये आपको सेरेब्रल पेडंकल के क्रस सेरेब्री के पार्ट में दिख रहा है. मेडुला में गया, मेडुला में आप जानते हैं इन सेंट्रल एरियाज को पिरामिड्स कहा जाता है. इट इज ट्रैवलिंग थ्रू देम. पिरामिड्स में इसमें क्रॉसओवर होगा, उसके बाद फॉर्मेशन होगी कॉर्टिकोस्पाइनल ट्रैक्ट की, विच इज एंटीरियर एज वेल एज लेटरल. सो ये वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट कंपोनेंट्स है आपके मिड ब्रेन का. नेक्स्ट ट्रैक्ट दैट वी विल स्टडी विल बी कॉर्टिको बल्बार और कॉर्टिको न्यूक्लियर ट्रैक्ट. टॉप डाउन कॉन्सेप्ट इज प्रिटी मच द सेम. यहां से अलग अलग फाइबर्स आ रहे हैं सिंस इट इज अबाउट कॉर्टिको बल्बार रीजन, यानी कि हम हेड एंड नेक रीजन की बात कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज दैट इज कंट्रोल्ड बाय क्रेनियल नर्व्स. ओके, सो यू कैन सी ऑल ऑफ देम हियर. Coming down, all these motor fibers will go through internal capsule. This is called as the internal capsule. वहां से नीचे आते हुए मिड ब्रेन के लेवल पे and they will interact with some cranial nerve nuclei which are present there. Going caudally, they will meet the respective cranial nuclei at various levels. So this was a corticospinal tract. It was a descending tract. This is a corticonuclear tract, another descending tract. Next, we will see the connection of pons, midbrain, and cerebellum with each other. This is the cerebellum and you know about some nuclei present there. उनमें से जो nuclei efferents, these are emerging from the cell bodies present in the nucleus. So these are efferent fibers. ये fibers यहाँ से निकल रहे हैं. तो यहाँ से निकल कर they will travel in superior cerebellar peduncle and they have different destinations to go to. So while they are doing this, they obviously pass through the midbrain. उनमें से कुछ fibers जो red nucleus पर end करेंगे, they obviously end in the midbrain region. The other set of fibers जो कि crus cerebri से pass कर रहे थे, these will pass through the tegmentum part and these will pass through the crus cerebri. They were corticopontine fibers. So cortex से आ रहे हैं, pons की तरफ जा रहे हैं. So these are the corticopontine fibers and they are going to cross through the crus cerebri. The next very important tract is medial longitudinal fasciculus. So without going much into the intricacies of the same, मैं आपको सिर्फ इतना बताना चाहती हूँ that the extraocular muscles which are being moved by cranial nerve number 3, cranial nerve number 6 and cranial nerve number 4 are integrated with each other ताकि frontal eye field और cerebellum का आपस में integration हो सके. आपको ये समझना होगा that every time your eyes see something, the whole body needs to work with it. Head की turning होना, body की posturing होना. So for all that, we need an integration between the frontal eye field, which is in the frontal lobe, and the cerebellum. So that is achieved through medial longitudinal fasciculus. So this is one of the important parts जो कि midbrain area से गुजरेंगे. क्यों? क्योंकि oculomotor nerve nucleus is present in the midbrain. So this is medial longitudinal fasciculus. It extends throughout the brainstem and is formed of both descending and ascending fibers. It is going to lead to an integration between oculomotor, trochlear and abducent nerves for coordination of head and the eye movement. So it obviously has a descending component and output component and that is going to extend into spinal cord through the medial vestibulospinal tract. Okay, the next very important tract which is going to pass through this is medial lemniscus pathway. I'm pretty sure आप इसके बारे में जानते होंगे. Fasciculus gracilis and cuneatus, उनका nucleus gracilis और cuneatus तक पहुंचना, crossover करना, medial lemniscus form करना, second order neurons यहाँ से arise करेंगे and obviously they are also going to pass through the midbrain because the final destination is in the brain. Next, since you just did medial lemniscus pathway, I should also acquaint you to something new now. It is lateral lemniscus. So this is a major ascending auditory pathway in the brainstem. So medial lemniscus 2-point discrimination के लिए था. You have to forget this for a while. Lateral lemniscus is for ascending auditory pathways in the brainstem. Superior colliculus or inferior colliculus में से inferior colliculus is the one which is associated with the sense of hearing. So I will be discussing it later how this is the integrative center for the hearing input that the body receives. But you have to remember that medial lemniscus is something. We also have a lateral lemniscus for this. Okay, now let's move ahead. Another very important tract which is going to pass through this region is rubrospinal tract. Obviously, अगर यहाँ पर red nucleus है तो red nucleus की output spinal cord की तरफ निकल कर आएगी. That one is called as the rubrospinal tract. It is very much active in the lower organisms compared to us because we have a proper corticospinal tract with us. It controls the distal limb muscles. And where is it important? It is important amongst the babies who have just learned to crawl. We'll discuss it later. The next very important tract here, which is going to pass through this region, is the trigeminal lemniscus. So, आपके पूरे head and neck region से तरह-तरह की sensory information gather करने के बाद, this long formation is the spinal nucleus of the main principal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. ठीक है, और इसकी एक extension mesencephalic nucleus is also going to extend into the midbrain. So that makes sense that trigeminal lemniscus will be one of the things passing through the midbrain so as it can finally reach the diencephalon. So this you have to remember. So just like that, we will also have spinothalamic tract arising from the receptors present back in the skin, passing through the spinal cord, rising up, going through medulla, pons, and it will obviously be present in the midbrain as well. So their exact locations will be discussed in the transverse sections, but just have this 3D idea of trigeminal tracts coming from the head and neck and spinothalamic tracts arising from the rest of the body. So this is the connection of the red nucleus with the cerebellar nucleus. So arising from the cerebellum, we just discussed it before, from the dentate nucleus are the fibers which are going to reach the red nucleus and will also go upstairs to the thalamus. The other white matter fibers which are present in the midbrain region are vestibulospinal tract fibers, tectospinal tract fibers, and rubrospinal tract fibers. Do not consider this diagram, the presentation from where I received this very particular diagram. This is the spinal cord diagram. If you see the Wikipedia page of spinal cord, there you'll find this diagram. It is an excellent diagram, but this is spinal cord. Next, we'll discuss the nuclei present in the midbrain. So first of all, in the tectum part, you obviously know this, in colliculi का नाम बार-बार लिया जा चुका है. So these elevations are produced because यहाँ नीचे neuronal cell bodies पड़ी हैं, ठीक है, जिनका नाम है colliculi. 2 superior colliculi, 2 inferior colliculi. Superior colliculi is a large nucleus of gray matter that lies beneath the corresponding elevation. It makes sense now. It forms a part of the visual reflexes. I just told it to you before. Superior colliculus is related to visual processing. Inferior colliculus is related to auditory processing. Superior colliculus will join the lateral geniculate body. Inferior colliculus will join the medial geniculate body. So, its efferent fibers go on to anterior horn cells in the spinal cord and to the cranial nerve nuclei 3, 4, 6, which are associated with the movement of the eyes, 7, which is associated with the movement of the facial muscles, and 11, which is associated with the movement of neck muscles. It is responsible for the reflex movements of the eyes, head, and neck in response to the visual stimuli, as in following a moving object or altering the direction of the gaze. Gaze is your sight, how you are going to see a thing, जिसे हम हिंदी में नजर कहते हैं. So that is called as the gaze. ये gaze word आपके लिए बहुत important है क्योंकि आगे चल के MCQs में ये part, ये information बहुत important हो जाती है. Inferior colliculus. It is going to receive the inputs from olivary complex, जिसे आपने medulla में पढ़ा, and cochlear nucleus, जो कि 8th nerve का hearing sensation gather करने वाला nucleus है. अगर आपको याद हो, आपने ये ear की anatomy में पढ़ा है, inner ear में. Some cells are monoaural, some are binaural, meaning coming from one ear, coming from both the ears. Much, but not all of the input to the inferior colliculus comes from the opposite ear. Okay. So, it is going to function in sound localization. It means integration of the auditory signal with the movement of the head. So, the resultant function is pretty much similar for both superior and inferior colliculus, but yes, the sensory modality is different. So, let's move ahead. First, you can see that these are the superior colliculi. This is the inferior colliculus. So they're pretty much as they would be present geometrically. This is the auditory cortex. This is the visual cortex. Now they are not directly upon each other. This is not anatomically correct. It is just a diagrammatic representation. So आपको ये देखना होगा कि input center retina है, वहां से इनपुट आकर सुपीरियर कॉलिक्यूलस तक पहुंचती है. सुपीरियर कॉलिक्यूलस पे पहुंचने वाली बाकी इनपुट्स में the other superior colliculus is involved, spinothalamic tracts are involved, hearing from the inferior colliculus also goes up, and all the information from the lateral geniculate body which has reached here. उसके बाद आउटपुट कहाँ है? आउटपुट है cranial nerve number 3 तक, 4 तक, 6 तक, 11 तक. ये सब मिलके क्या करेंगी? They are associated with the movement of the eyeball and movement of the neck. So here you can see how the retinal input is going to be integrated with movement of the eyes and movement of the corresponding portion of your neck. This is where this entire integration is going to take place. Other than that, they are also going to integrate with the involuntary centers which are present in the pons, which are related to the cerebellum, red nucleus, substantia nigra. It is going to contain the dopaminergic neurons and tecto-olivary fibers. So this whole schema becomes very, very important. So next we will talk about the lateral lemniscus pathway and the inferior colliculus. The lateral lemniscus pathway begins at the cochlear nuclei. So आपको ये समझना होगा कि cochlear nuclei जो cochlear nerve के cell bodies हैं वहाँ से ये neurons arise करते हैं. The other source is superior olivary nucleus. यहाँ से arise करने के बाद their termination happens at the inferior colliculus जहाँ से neurons proceed towards the lateral geniculate body and finally they end up as auditory radiations to end at the auditory region. So this is lateral lemniscus. This particular part which arises from the cochlear nuclei and superior olivary nuclei and ending at the inferior colliculus. So, पेरीएक्विडक्टल ग्रे मैटर, जैसे कि मैं आपको पहले भी बता चुकी हूँ, सेरेब्रल एक्विडक्ट के आसपास ग्रे मैटर पाया जाता है एंड इट इज गोइंग टू कंटेन सम वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्रेनियल नर्व न्यूक्लियाई जो कि हैं ऑक्यूलोमोटर नर्व का न्यूक्लियाई, ट्रोक्लियर नर्व का न्यूक्लियस और mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Trigeminal nerve has a continuous nuclear organization जो कि medulla oblongata के cranial pons के through up to the level of midbrain travel करता है. It is a collection of cell bodies through this entire area. Trigeminal lemniscus भी travel करता है और trigeminal nucleus भी travel करता है. So, first of all, let's look at the third nerve nucleus. So, आप पहले भी इसके बारे में पढ़ चुके हैं, oculomotor nucleus, which is associated with the control of extraocular muscles. It is present in the periaqueductal gray, as you can see this at the level of superior colliculi. The second nucleus is Edinger-Westphal nucleus. अगर आपको याद होगा ciliary ganglia के वक्त आपको ये पढ़ाया गया था. This is the visceral efferent nucleus, यानी कि parasympathetic nucleus. It is in the midbrain along with the oculomotor nucleus. You should remember this. The other nucleus, which is called as the trochlear nucleus, it is in the lower part at the level of inferior colliculus. Superior colliculus के level पर oculomotor था, inferior colliculus के level पर trochlear यानी कि fourth cranial nerve का nucleus है. आप यहाँ देख सकते हैं ये मिडल सेरेब्रल पेडंकल है, ये सुपीरियर सेरेब्रल पेडंकल ऊपर की ओर जा रहा है, ये सुपीरियर कॉलिक्यूलस है एंड बिलो द सुपीरियर कॉलिक्यूलस इज द ट्रोक्लियर न्यूक्लियस. यहाँ से ट्रोक्लियर नर्व के फोर्थ क्रेनियल नर्व के फाइबर्स अराइज करेंगे. डेकिसेशन सीएनएस के अंदर ही हो जाएगी इन द पेरियाक्विडक्टल ग्रे से अराइज करने के बाद एंड फ्रॉम द डोर्सल साइड दे आर गोइंग टू इमर्ज. So I was talking about the trigeminal nucleus. So as you can see, spinal nucleus of fifth cranial nerve, main sensory nucleus which is present in the pons, or mesencephalic nucleus, which is the midbrain nucleus literally speaking, is going to extend through this entire region. And the trigeminal ganglion, जहां पर सेल बॉडीज हैं उन सब न्यूरॉन्स की जो कि सेंसरी इनपुट हेड एंड नेक से लेकर आ रहे हैं, they are going to end at the trigeminal ganglion. Or trigeminal ganglion is similar to the dorsal root ganglion of the spinal nerves. यहाँ से आने वाली output will end at the sensory nerve cell bodies present through this entire big nucleus. So, the mesencephalic nucleus in particular is associated with the proprioception sense. The chief sensory nucleus or the pontine nucleus is receptive to touch, and the spinal trigeminal nucleus is receptive to pain and temperature. Red nucleus. We've been talking about red nucleus for so far away. As you can see, ये है cerebral aqueduct और periaqueductal gray. इसकी बात हम नहीं कर रहे. उसके आगे आपको रेड न्यूक्लियस दिखेगा, which will be the grayish, the gray region, the cell body rich region inside the midbrain. Substantia nigra से cranial है और यहाँ पर ये present है. So this is actually pale pink in color, जैसे आपने वहाँ वीडियो में भी देखा होगा, and this color is believed to be due to the presence of iron. It contains magnocellular and parvocellular parts. These two terms are very important. ये अभी बार बार आप experience करेंगे CNS के discussion में. I'm not going to take this up, but just remember these terms about something being magnocellular means large sized cell body and parvocellular. So, where does the red nucleus connect? आप देख चुके हैं, इसकी बात हमने पहले भी की. Red nucleus की cell bodies से निकलने वाले fibers are going to interact with inferior olivary nucleus. Superior olivary अगर आपको याद होगा वो अभी मैंने आपको बताया था कि hearing sensation से associated है, whereas inferior olivary nucleus red nucleus के connection से associated है. And some fibers descend down forming the rubrospinal tract. And there is some connection between the cerebellar nucleus and the red nucleus as well. These fibers will travel in superior cerebral peduncle and reach the red nucleus in the midbrain. So now we come to that very particular interesting thing. It is said that crawling of the baby is initiated and controlled by red nucleus. In the lower animals where they do not have as much area of the cerebrum dedicated to corticospinal control, they don't have corticospinal controls as advanced as us. The red nucleus is one of the major sites of controlling the movements, especially the lower limb. Okay, our next milestone is substantia nigra. Nigra means black. It is because of its color. So in this diagram, you can see this is the substantia nigra. Ventral to it is the crus cerebri. आपको मैं बार-बार बता चुकी हूँ. The very important thing about the substantia nigra is its correlation with Parkinson's disease. Substantia nigra consists of two components, pars compacta and pars reticulata. अब आपको यहाँ समझना होगा कि pars compacta is dorsal and consists high concentration of dopaminergic neuron, जो कि प्रिंसिपल सोर्स हैं स्ट्राइएटल डोपामीन का. आपको समझाया जाएगा ये सब बेसल गैंग्लिया की क्लास में. Then you have to remember about substantia nigra, which is associated with dopamine secretion and is involved along with the basal ganglia in the control and coordination of movements. The less dense part is pars reticulata. It has inhibitory neurotransmitter GABA. The GABAergic neurons here are going to be inhibitory of the muscle movement. So its connections are with corpus striatum, globus pallidus, substantia nigra, subthalamic nuclei, dorsal nucleus of Raffi. ये सारी terms आप अभी नहीं समझ पा रहे हैं, पर धीरे धीरे as you study you will be able to see them. But just for a beginner's touch, under this layer of gray matter, ये आप समझ सकते हैं, ये मैं cortex की बात कर रही हूँ, there is कॉर्टिकल ग्रे मैटर कलेक्शन। ठीक है, तो कॉर्टेक्स के नीचे जब भी कोई भी सब कॉर्टिकल ग्रे मैटर कलेक्शन है और वो सीएनएस के अंदर है तो उसका नाम होगा न्यूक्लियस। तो इस तरह के कुछ न्यूक्लियाई प्रेजेंट हैं जो कि फॉर्म करते हैं एक इंट्रिकेट एक्स्ट्रा पिरामिडल सिस्टम फॉर कंट्रोल एंड कोऑर्डिनेशन ऑफ मूवमेंट्स। पिरामिडल सिस्टम आप जानते हैं, कॉर्टिकोस्पाइनल ट्रैक्ट्स आर पिरामिडल सिस्टम। सो उसके अलावा जितने भी और न्यूरल पाथवेज मूवमेंट के कंट्रोल और कोऑर्डिनेशन में इन्वॉल्व हैं उनको एक्स्ट्रा पिरामिडल पाथवे कहा जाता है। सो बेसल गैंग्लिया से आने वाले न्यूरॉन्स, सेरिबेलम से आने वाले न्यूरॉन्स, इन सर्टन केसेस पॉन्स से आने वाले न्यूरॉन्स, all of them form the extrapyramidal pathways. So these will be taught to you in a separate class, which is a very, very important lecture. But right now what you need to know is that substantia nigra of all these extrapyramidal components is a part of midbrain. And last but not the least, रेटिकुलर फॉर्मेशन। रेटिकुलर फॉर्मेशन आपने मिडल ऑब्लोंगेटा में देखी होगी, पॉन्स में भी देखी होगी, मिड ब्रेन में भी देख रहे हैं। सो इट इज अ कलेक्शन ऑफ ग्रे एंड व्हाइट मैटर। जहां भी रेटिकुलर वर्ड आ रहा है इट मीन्स अ नेट लाइक अपीयरेंस। सो नेट आपको कैसा दिखता है? क्रिस क्रॉस ऑफ फाइबर्स के जैसा। सो दैट इज व्हाट रेटिकुलर फॉर्मेशन refers to. It is sort of an integrative area which prevents repetitive stimuli and enhances infrequent stimuli for a sense of being awake in the body. ठीक है, reticular formation is sort of this sideways appearing channel जहां पे तरह तरह के sensory inputs एक दूसरे से interact करते हैं। This I think will be a different class, but till then just remember that reticular formation will be encountered by you throughout the various parts of brainstem. General anesthesia drugs act on reticular formation. Sleep is a reticular formation function. Analgesic drugs have one of its mechanism acting through reticular formation. The afferents are from the various sensory pathways, just as I told you, other parts of CNS make sense, and factors influencing the activity of reticular formation, like drugs and hormones. Let's understand the efferents. The efferents are two autonomic and locomotor control centers of brainstem and spinal cord, the various cranial nerve nuclei, the cerebral cortex, the red nucleus, substantia nigra, and tectum of the midbrain. So what you can see is that both afferents and efferents are from all parts of the brains to all parts of the brain. So it is like that big integrative center. And yes, before I move on to the nuclei in this region, let's just see the cerebral aqueduct. जैसे कि मैंने आपको बताया था, थर्ड वेंट्रिकल से एक्सटेंड होती हुई cerebral aqueduct फोर्थ वेंट्रिकल के साथ मिल जाती है और उसके आसपास पेरी एक्वेडक्टल ग्रे मैटर भी है। इट कंटेन्स नो कोरॉइड प्लेक्सस। ये आपको दिखाई दे रहा है, ये कोरॉइड प्लेक्सस है। मैंने आप लोगों की ब्लड सप्लाई ऑफ ब्रेन की क्लास ली थी, वहां मैंने आपको कोरॉइड प्लेक्सस के फॉर्मेशन के बारे में बताया था, सो आई शुड नॉट रिपीट इट अगेन। So this is choroid plexus. It is not present, no kind of choroid plexus is present in cerebral aqueduct, and that makes sense. It's a very narrow pathway. So now we come to the final gist of this chapter. The most important part in this chapter is the collection of a few diagrams, actually 2 diagrams, which will be asked to you in the exams. It's a very frequently occurring question, which is, you must have done it in the brainstem as well, cross sections. So midbrain पे 2 cross section किए जाते हैं, at the level of superior colliculus and at the level of inferior colliculus. और अभी तक हमने जितने ट्रैक्ट्स, जितने न्यूक्लियाई, जितने फॉर्मेशंस देखे, वो सब की अरेंजमेंट हम इन डायग्राम्स के थ्रू स्टडी करेंगे, एंड दिस इज गोइंग टू बी योर असाइनमेंट एज वेल. Section at the level of superior colliculus. First of all, you should know this is the dorsal side, this is the ventral side, or you can also call it the rostral side. So यहाँ आपको ये 2 superior colliculus दिखाई दे रहे हैं क्योंकि superior colliculus के थ्रू ये सेक्शन लिया गया है. आपको superior colliculus दिखाई दे रहा है, आपको cerebral aqueduct दिखाई दे रहा है. अगर cerebral aqueduct है तो उसके आसपास peri aqueductal gray matter भी है. I've been telling this to you. और इस लेवल पे आपको कौन कौन से न्यूक्लियाई दिखाई देंगे. लेट्स जस्ट लुक एट दैट. You will see mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve. You will see oculomotor nucleus. That is very, very important. And in the midline, you will be able to see the medial longitudinal fasciculus, dorsal tegmental decussation, and ventral tegmental decussation. These are the tegmental fibers interacting with each other, and all this forms the midline structures at the superior colliculus level. Next, just notice these red nucleus. This is the red nucleus. ये है substantia nigra और ये है crus cerebri. Crus cerebri में you should always mark the location of the fibers. The medial most are frontopontine fibers and the lateral most are temporopontine, peritopontine and occipitopontine fibers. Just as I always tell the students, इस तरफ फ्रंटो और पॉन्स के बीच का कनेक्शन है. लेटरल मोस्ट इज रेस्ट ऑफ द ब्रेन लोब्स विद द पॉन्स. सो फ्रंटल लोब एंड पॉन्स, द अदर लोब्स एंड पॉन्स. और बीच में कॉर्टिकोस्पाइनल और कॉर्टिको न्यूक्लियर फाइबर्स हैं. सो लेग्स, आर्म एंड हेड. इट मीन्स corticospinal fibers and corticonuclear fibers being the medial most. This marking is very, very important. उसके अलावा let's see what do we observe here. So this one is the medial lemniscus. Cranial to it is trigeminal lemniscus and cranial most are lateral spinothalamic and spinotectal tracts. You need to remember this arrangement. So all those tracts जो मैंने आपको पीछे बताए are all, or let's say almost, are represented in diagrams like these, which will be given in your books as well. So this is the cross section at the superior colliculus level. The things which you absolutely have to be correct about is ट्राइजेमिनल लेमिनिस्कस जरूर ड्रॉ करना है और हमेशा याद रखना है सुपीरियर कॉलिकुलस के लेवल पे ऑक्यूलोमोटर न्यूक्लियस होगा और क्रस सेरिब्री हमेशा सही से बनाना है. The red nucleus has to be drawn right, substantia nigra has to be right. There should always be periaqueductal gray matter around the cerebral aqueduct. Next is cross section at the level of midbrain, cross section at the level of inferior colliculi. अब यहां जाते हैं. तो जैसे आपने यहाँ सुपीरियर कॉलिकुलस बनाए थे उसी तरह से यहाँ इंफीरियर कॉलिकुलस हैं. वही सेरेब्रल एक्वेडक्ट, वही पेरी एक्वेडक्टल ग्रे मैटर. मेक सेंस राइट. अब थर्ड नर्व न्यूक्लियस तो वहां था, ये थर्ड न्यूक्लियस था सुपीरियर कॉलिकुलस के लेवल पे. इंफीरियर कॉलिकुलस के लेवल पे फोर्थ नर्व न्यूक्लियस आ गया. सो यहाँ आपको ट्रोक्लियर न्यूक्लियस दिख रहा है. मेसेनकेफलिक न्यूक्लियस फिर यहाँ दिख रहा है. यहाँ भी मेसेनकेफलिक आपको न्यूक्लियस दिख रहा था यहाँ पर. नेक्स्ट इज टेक्टोस्पाइनल ट्रैक्ट. वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड दैट. ऊपर आपको इसी की डिकसेशन दिख रही थी. सब्सटैंशिया नाइग्रा अपनी जगह पे है. ट्राइजेमिनल लेमिनिस्कस, स्पाइनल लेमिनिस्कस, मीडियल लेमिनिस्कस, ये सब अपनी अपनी जगह पे हैं, जस्ट लाइक दे वर इन दिस डायग्राम. एंड द crus cerebri and frontopontine fibers, rest of the pontine fibers, and leg and arms and head will stay the same even when it is the inferior colliculus diagram. So for brainstem and midbrain, these diagrams are very, very important. I have had doubts of many of you that you find these diagrams tough. So what I can tell you is that reading the tracts, reading the nuclei as they extend from head to tail is the best way to learn these levels. And please read your neurophysiology along with your neuroanatomy so that you can integrate this whole information. ये डायग्राम्स को जितना कम रट्टा लगाएंगे आप, जितना समझ के करने की कोशिश करेंगे, उतना ही आपके लिए आसान रहेगा. सो लुक एट द 3-dimensional पिक्चर्स एंड कोरिलेट विद देम, क्योंकि आप यहाँ भी देखेंगे कि ऑलमोस्ट इंफॉर्मेशन सेम है, सिर्फ यहाँ अलग न्यूक्लियाई है, नीचे अलग न्यूक्लियाई है. काफी चीजें कंटिन्यू कर रही हैं ऊपर नीचे. सो इट शुड नॉट बी डिफिकल्ट फॉर यू. So blood supply of this area is by posterior cerebral arteries. You saw them emerging from the basilar artery. The other one was superior cerebellar artery and basilar artery branches. And obviously the veins. So the last very important part is the clinical correlations of midbrain. So, midbrain syndromes are basically the results of injury incurred to certain parts, or let's say the sides of the midbrain. So, they are divided into two broad categories: medial midbrain syndromes and lateral midbrain syndrome. So, let's just see how it happens. अगर मीडियल पोर्शन, पहली बात तो आपको ये देखना पड़ेगा कि इस डायग्राम, दिस इज लाइक अपसाइड डाउन, सो क्रस्ट सेरेब्री, अभी तक हम नीचे की ओर देखते जा रहे थे डायग्रामेटिकली स्पीकिंग, अब इसमें आपको ऊपर की तरफ दिखाई दे रहा है। मीडियल मिड ब्रेन सिंड्रोम कब होगा? जब पीसीए स्ट्रोक्स होंगे, ठीक है। पोस्टीरियर सेरेब्रल आर्टरी अगर आपकी हर्ट हो रही है, जो कि ऑब्वियसली इंटरपेडंकुलर रीजन में लाई करती थी, तब यू विल सफर फ्रॉम मिडिल मिड ब्रेन सिंड्रोम्स। So what happens when all these areas are affected? जैसा कि आपको याद होगा, medial most frontopontine fibers थे, ठीक है, यहाँ सब्सटेंशिया नाइग्रा था, ठीक है, यहाँ रेड न्यूक्लियस था, ठीक है, और सेंट्रल पेरी एक्विडक्टल ग्रे एरिया में थर्ड नर्व का न्यूक्लियस, फोर्थ नर्व का न्यूक्लियस, सबके सब प्रेजेंट थे। सो इतना एरिया अगर आपका हर्ट होता है तो क्या इफेक्ट होगा? On the side of the lesions, eye will be down and out. It means your lateral rectus is intact because it is supplied by the abducent nerves, and all the functions that were being done by the oculomotor nerve are lost. So fourth and sixth are unopposed, whereas the third nerve actions are lost and the eye looks down and out. And on the opposite side, because of the contralateral crossing over, the corticobulbar, corticospinal tracts are affected, but most of all the frontopontine fibers are affected. So what happens when you talk about lateral midbrain syndrome? जब आपके fibers आगे की बजाय lateral area से affect होंगे. So as you can see, this area contained the connecting fibers from temporal, parietal and occipital lobe going to the other parts of the pons. This area will be affected, reg nucleus will be affected. This periaqueductal gray and the nuclei here may or may not be affected. So the eye, if any lesion is observed, will be down and out, same like that. But you will see major motor symptoms like hemiataxia, hyperkinesis, tremors, and the red nucleus disturbance. So, lateral and medial midbrain syndromes are differentiated by paralysis, whether do you see on face, arm, and leg, versus symptoms which are similar to ataxia, hyperkinesis, and tremor. यहाँ पर there is exaggeration of movements. यहाँ पर we had a loss of movements. Moving forward, some syndromes have been named, and these are very, very important as far as your MCQs are concerned. They usually ask about this. So three kind of posterior cerebral artery strokes are defined. As you can see, मैं PCA strokes की बात कर रही हूँ, तो ये कहाँ होंगे? Anterior side पे ही होंगे जहाँ पे PCA है. So they can be anterior most, as seen in Weber syndrome. They can be slightly cranially dorsally located, as in Claudi's syndrome, or Benedict syndrome, which involves this whole area. So I think you should be able to guess out the presentation in all these three cases. So just think about whether your corticospinal tracts are involved and red nucleus is spared, just the red nucleus is involved, or both of them are involved. So Benedict is pretty much like Weber plus Cloud. So whatever we did now involved the anterior, or let's say the rostral side of the midbrain. What happens when the dorsal midbrain is affected? Those lesions are less common because PCA stroke वहाँ नहीं होगा, but they still do exist. So आपको याद होगा कि dorsal side पे superior colliculus था, and on that part getting affected, you have a supranuclear upgaze palsy. It means that the person is not able to see above, roll his or her eyes above, compared to him being able to roll their eyes downwards normally. This is what is seen in the dorsal midbrain syndrome. It is also called as Perinaud syndromes. And lid retraction this is the Collier sign being done here. So even if you retract their lids, they are not able to roll their eyeball up. So its causes can be aqueductal stenosis, demyelination, AV malformations, this one is very important, and cancers and some posterior fossa aneurysms. So this would be it for today. Let's just revise and see something if we missed Actually, we might have not missed it. But yeah, it's too much to take in a single go, especially when you're not holding the brains in your hand. So I really hope that you come back soon. Till then, just remember this one and see as many videos as you can. And if you do not get any books to read, if you don't have any books to read, just go and look for the PDFs online. You should be able to torrent them quite easily, especially BRS Neurology, Snell's. These foreign author books are very easily available. Snell's is very easy to read, so you should be able to do that one fine. And if you have any other problems, then do reach out to us on WhatsApp. And I think that's it for today. So thank you for your attention and see you soon.